Hello guys, Robot1 here, coming at you with a new Yu-Gi-Oh video, and today's Yu-Gi-Oh video is going to be a segment that I haven't done for a bit, but want to start doing more, because it's something I really do want to get into my channel to start talking about, and that is, Will It Be Good? And Will It Be Good is a segment on my channel where I'm going to be talking about cards, archetypes, or archetypes that are going to be coming out later on in the game. This is the second episode I made, and sorry for any background noise and everything, I can't do anything about it. And it's going to basically be me talking about what I think of the archetype, what the archetype can do, and maybe doing some additional cards that can be used in the archetype as well to somewhat boost the deck a bit. So yeah guys, and also this is the first time I'm using the little camera on the this software that I'm using, so if it doesn't look too good, just tell me that in the comment section below and I won't use it anymore. But if you like it and you want to see more videos with this sort of thing in the video, just tell me that in the comment section below and I will incorporate this more often. And I'll even incorporate it with my streams as well if I can. But yeah guys, let's get into this video. So today's Will It Be Good will be on the Prankids deck. And the Prankids are a new archetype that is coming out later on down the road. I believe it's before Soul Fusion. I don't know the exact set off the top of my head, but the deck is a very interesting deck. Now, we're going to get into what the cards do real quick, just so you guys can have a faint idea of what the deck does and where it goes from. So, for starters, we have Prankid Ramp. Ramp is, well, basically all the little Prankid monsters, they all have the effect, when used for a fusion or link summon of a Prankid monster, you get to special summon another Prankid from your deck if you want to. But they all have an effect that will activate when used as a Prankid, when used as a material for a link or as a fusion or link summon. Sorry. The first one, Ramp, his effect when he's used for a fusion or link summon is to burn your opponent for 500 life points, and he summons one from the deck if you do that, or if you want to do that. Drop, it gives you 1,000 life points, then does the same thing, special summon if you want to. And then you've got Pulse, which basically sends one Prankid card from your deck to the graveyard, and then gives you the option to summon one from deck. They all have the ability to summon one from deck, and these effects are all once per turn. So what you're already getting at, most likely, is that this is a fusion and link based archetype. There's not really anything else out of the deck that the deck does outside of link or fusion summoning. So those are the first cards. Those are the first cards that that they do. They also have a generic searcher, which is Prankid House, that when it's activated, it searches a Prankid monster, and you can only activate one of this per turn. Also, when you would fusion or link summon, you gain an additional effect. If you if you fusion summon, all your monsters gain 500 attack, and if you link summon, all your opponent's monsters lose 500 attack, so it has that ability to sort of boost and decrease, which is really nice. Then you have their fusion spell, Prankids on the Loose. It's a quick play fusion spell that you can use during yours or your opponent's turn. And you can only use this card once. You can only use this card during your main phase, so you're not allowed to use it outside of your main phase. And also it gives you the ability to only special summon and normal summon Prankid monsters, so you can't go outside of Prankids if you use Prankids on the Loose. Then you have Prankid's Prank. This is basically your token generator. Discard a Prankid card, special summon a Prankid token. And also during the end phase, you can shuffle 3 Prankid's cards into the deck and then draw 1 card. So it's a bit of recyclability with a way to special summon more tokens. And then finally, you have Prankid's Super Scheme, which during the main phase, so yours or your opponent's, you can immediately, after this card resolves, link summon 1 Prankid's monster from the extra deck, and if this card is in your graveyard, you can banish it from your graveyard when your opponent declares an attack, and shuffle any number of Prankid's cards back from your graveyard into the deck to essentially gain, and to make your opponent's monster lose 100 attack for each card returned. That's the main deck. The main deck cards are good. Outside of Super Scheme, in my opinion, they're good. But yeah, that's the main deck cards. What you got in the extra deck is Prankid House Battle Butler. He essentially needs every Prankid to make him. and you contribute him to destroy all monsters your opponent controls. So he's essentially a Raigeki for your opponent, and if he would be sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card effect, or by battle, I believe. Just let me clarify this. If this card is sent in your possession, sent to the graveyard by your opponent's card, by your opponent's card. So if it's by battle or card effect, so if they send it to the graveyard, you're allowed to target one monster in your graveyard, except a fusion monster, and special summon it. And the links and fusions have the opposite, where if you would be able to summon one, you can't summon the other. So if you got a link monster, you can't target a fusion. You can't target a link monster. If you've got a fusion monster, you can't target a fusion monster. That's how the deck works, essentially, for the extra deck. Then you've got Rocket, which essentially, when it's summoned, decreases attack by 1,000. It can attack directly at a turn, and also it can tribute itself to target 2 Prankid monsters in your graveyard and then summon them. So it can summon a link back and a normal monster and one of the drop, pulse, or ramp, which is, and also the other fusion. It has the same effect to summon monsters, but only during your opponent's turn, so it's a quick effect. And also it has the effect of, if a Prankid monster attacks, your opponent cannot activate effects until the end of the damage step. So essentially it makes every Prankid monster an Armides, which is pretty good, being able to have an Armides in the main deck. Those are the fusions. They are the sort of, they're the main ones you're going to be wanting to use, because they're the main ones you're going to be summoning the most, in my opinion, because you're going to be playing a lot of different cards to fusion summon or get these monsters out. So yeah, and then you've got the link monsters. You've got Prankid's Rawgun, which is essentially the opposite to Battle Butler, where you contribute him and destroy all spell and trap cards your opponent controls. And if it would be sent from the field to graveyard by an opponent's card, you get to add one card from your graveyard to your hand that isn't a link monster. So it's the opposite of Battle Butler, just no links instead of fusions. Then you've got Doodle, which when it's link summoned, searches any Prankid's spell or trap card from your deck. You will always be summoning this turn 1 in the deck, trust me. If you're not summoning this turn 1, you're not doing it right. So that's the main card you're going to be summoning. And then it also has the effect to tribute itself to target 2 Prankid monsters in the graveyard to add them to your hand. So the fusion monsters will always summon the things, and then the link monsters will return things to your hand. That's the difference between the two. And then you have Bow Wow, which does the same thing as Doodle, but during your opponent's turn to add cards from graveyard to your hand. And if a Prankid monster is in this arrow's pointing area, so if it's in the zone the Bow Wow points to, that Prankid's monster gains 1,000 attack. So that's all the main deck cards that we've got for Prankids. They all have pretty decent effects. They're all decent in their own way, and they all have their own ways to play the game. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do this, because they are very interesting archetype that can actually utilize different strategies in their own deck to gain more advantage and to do more things in that turn. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about them. But let's get into what the deck actually does. Now, in testing of the deck, when preparing for this video and everything, I've learned that the deck really does heavily rely on cards like Instant Fusion and Prankid's Prank. If you can't get to any of these cards turn 1, you're not going to be able to go very far with the deck. Like, the deck can't go very far if you not able to get 2 Prankid monsters on the field, because the deck really does rely on summoning multiple Prankids turn 1, at least 2, to be able to start off their combos. Because if they can't get to a point where they don't have 2 Prankids on the board, you're not going to be playing the game. The deck cannot play without 2 Prankids in your monster zone. If you don't have a way to get them in your monster zone, you're not playing the game. That's a big problem with the deck. But if the deck does have those 2 monsters in the main monster zone, then the deck can actually go off very far. Like, something I've learned about this deck is that it can effectively build a board of recycle resources and then build a board of just protection and destroy opponent. Like, that's something I've learned from the deck. Just like, it has a slow start. It does have a slow start, because if you can't get those 2 monsters on board, you can't get anywhere. But if you're going further into the game, you're going to be getting a lot more resources. So that's something I've kind of been thinking about with the deck and working out how the deck works and what you do with the deck. And that's something really cool about the deck that I personally like, because if it may have a slow start, it may have that kind of start, but when you get further into the deck can actually do a lot, because as you can see in the bottom here, I have cards that can somewhat speed up the deck and make the deck a bit better. Like, you've got Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion is a very key card in the deck, because Instant Fusion is the card that's going to allow you to get that second Prankid monster on the field majority of the time. And those 1,000 life points you're paying, you don't even care about, because the majority of the time you're going to be getting a drop anyway, to then use the drop to gain those 1,000 life points back. So it essentially makes Instant Fusion free. And you've even got stuff like the 1-for-1, where if you would draw maybe one of your dead hand traps, or you draw 2 Prankid prank monsters, then you can discard a Prankid monster and then summon a Prankid Pulse from the deck to sort of speed up the consistency of the deck, which is something that you need to do as well. And another card that I've even put here, Necro Fusion, which is coming out in Soul Fusion, it allows you to Miracle Fusion during your opponent's turn. And sure, the monster can't attack, but being able to Miracle Fusion into something like a Battle Butler, where, I've now got a Battle Butler and I can just Raigeki you, can actually just win you the game. Sure, you're banishing 3 of your 9 Prankid monsters to do this, but even though you're doing that, you're getting so much advantage from being able to summon a Raigeki, or just have a 3k monster in general, that you don't really care about the consequences in the end. And that's something I've really found good about the deck, that the deck is able to utilize these cards to get further. It's able to utilize them to get to a point where they can go further and play further. And seeing as it's a deck that can really heavily lose to Gozen Match and Rivalry, it kind of needs these kind of cards to just speed up the consistency in the deck, just speed up how far the deck can go, to be able to just get to a point where they're able to play the game without worry. Because if you're able to get to a point where you can have both the Battle Butler and Dragon Rawgon on the board, your majority of the time you're going to win that game, because you've got monster wiping and you've got spell and trap card wiping, which is just insane in general, just being able to just completely board wipe your opponent, which is just really powerful in that area. And that's something I found about the deck to be really, really good. So, will it be good? Will this deck be good? I feel like it will be good, because it's got the resources to get there. I don't think it will be the top deck of the meta, but it will be a decent deck. It will be a deck that will be able to compete. It will be a deck that will be able to go further. And honestly, if anything, if this deck could get one more Prankid monster, like an Earth element, because that's all they're really missing, an Earth Rock, to be able to allow them to summon an additional Prankid from their hand or deck when this card is either special summoned or normal summoned, or even just by discarding a Prankid card to special summon a Prankid from the deck, then it will have so much more power and so much more advantage that the deck will be able to go to that next level, to be able to actually be consistent, go into the forefront of the meta, and probably even go to the point where it could be top of tier 1. I could see this deck being a tier 1 deck as long as they can get to the resources quick enough, as long as they can get to the point where they can summon multiple Prankid monsters, it will able to go into that extra mile. But guys, this is just my opinion on Prankids. Like, they all have their own additional effects. Like, with Ramp, you're burning your opponent, so it has that kind of time clause effect. With Drop, you're gaining life. With Pulse, you're sending those useless cards into the graveyard, or sending fodder to shuffle back into the deck with Prankids Prank. You've got House, that's essentially a Zephyr Oracle to search any Prankid. You've got stuff like the Fusion spell that can fusion during your opponent's turn, which is really nice, just to summon more cards. Like, the deck has a lot, and the deck does a lot for itself. Being very searchable, being very consistent at times, it can be very good. As long as you get those 2 Prankid monsters on board, this deck will go off. But guys, what do you personally think of the Prankids? Personally, I feel Prankids will be a good deck. They might not be a meta deck, they might not be amazing, but they will be a good enough deck. Like, I could even see people incorporating other engines into this just to make it more powerful. Like, I could see an invoked Prankid deck or a Wind Witch Prankin deck, or anything along those lines. Like, just something to boost the consistency of the deck. And that's something I really do like about the Prankids. I could see so many different variants. Like, Sky Striker Prankids could even be a thing, because the deck if the deck doesn't draw their monsters, then the deck will have to rely on something else. So there's a lot of things you can incorporate into the Prankids to make them a decent meta deck. But yeah, guys, what do you personally think of Prankids? What do you personally think they'll do? Do you think they'll be meta? Do you think they won't be? What do you personally think? Do you think they're good? Do you think they're bad? I personally feel like they can be a bit inconsistent at times. If you don't get those 2 monsters on the board, you're not really going to be able to play the game. But outside of that, I feel the deck, it has the power to do it, has enough power to get to where it needs to be, has enough consistency to get to where it needs to be, and as long as we get at least maybe one more Prankid monster that can summon a Prankid from hand or deck, then the deck will actually just be insane. But guys, that's the video. Tell me what you think of it in the comment section below. Tell me if you think they deserve a link 1, as I should have said as well, because this deck does need a link 1. It needs to be able to climb that ladder. But yeah, tell me what you think of it in the comment section below. Tell me if you think the deck's good. Tell me if you think this deck's bad. Tell me all of that in the comment section below, because I love to hear your thoughts and opinions. And also, guys, do you think Prankids will be good? Do you think it? Tell me that in the comment section below, because I want to hear if you think Prankids will be good. Personally, I feel like they could be. They could be good. They might not be good. But personally, I feel like they will be good. And yeah. If you liked the video, don't forget to press the like button to show that you liked the video. If you want to see more Yu-Gi-Oh videos from me, guys, don't forget to press the subscribe button. And if you want to see more Yu-Gi-Oh content from me in general and want to be notified of that content, don't forget to press the notification button as well, guys, to be notified of any future content I do, such as streams and anything along those lines, because I've started streaming again and it's really, really fun to be doing. So yeah, guys, that's the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, as I said, and I will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Robot1 signing out. Bye, guys.